Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudev ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupada Shatarashatashmar Bhaktivedānta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupada Shatarashatashmar Bhaktivedānta Swami Mahārāja Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupada Shatarashatashmar Bhakti Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupada Shatarashatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Mahabhagavat Shilagokshara Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Shila Satchitananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giri Raj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunna Shama Kunna ki jai. Shri Muna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Sachinandan Gaura Hari ki jai. Swaparshad Shri Gaura Hari ki jai. Shri Jagannath Mishra ki jai. Shri Shachi Devi ki jai. What is today called? Anyways, Jagannath Mishra Mahotsav ki jai. Jai Shri. Sorry guys, I'm a bit tired right now. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Dandavat Pranam everybody. You'll hear my voice sounds a little bit different right now because I sang really loud yesterday, and yeah, my voice is starting to go out. So today I'm going to start reading from Pinnacle of Devotion by my Srila Gurudev. These are classes that my Gurudev gave in February 1997 in Australia. Most of it. There's 2 classes at the end that were given after that in Singapore and one other place. Yeah, so we can begin. Let me just share my screen. Let me see all who's there. Let me change this to that. Dandavat Pranam Rohit Radhakrishnan ji, Shah Sharma, Madhvi Didi, Savitri Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, Rup Manjari Didi. Okay, Anandotsav. Shri Jagannath Mishra Anandotsav ki jai. All right. The Glory of Shri Guru. So I'm actually supposed to be proofreading this book, but at the moment, this is not an editable PDF. So I'm just going to have to remember the changes for today. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have the editable PDF. Like here, of should be lowercase. All prepositions that are less than 4 words, I think, or 5 words is lowercase. Yeah. Anyways, I'm just going to have to, it's going to be painful seeing mistakes and not being able to change them. Anyhow, so let's see the table of contents first. So these are classes that my Guru gave in Australia, February 2nd to the 17th, 1997. The Glory of Shri Guru as a manifestation of Krishna, a verse with deep secrets, the purpose of Lord Chaitanya's descent, auspicious invocation, the highest devotion, the Gopi selfless love, supreme chastity. Without this, the world is useless. Lord Chaitanya as the perfect devotee, no one but Krishna. Krishna teaches through pastimes. The pure name is Krishna. And then there's in the addendum, Madhavi Titi, class that my Guru gave in Akadashi. And all right, so let's begin. Forward. We all have a tendency to love. No one can live without loving someone. Even a tiger has this tendency. We see this in the way a mother tiger carries, maintains, and protects her babies. The problem, however, is where to place our love so that everyone will be happy. In the beginning of life, we love our parents, then our brothers and sisters, then our entire family, our beloveds, our community, nation, and even all of humanity. Yet, in spite of giving so much love, we still feel frustrated. And it will continue to remain this way until we know the identity of our Supreme Beloved. Who is this written by? Just curious. Oh, the publishers, okay. As particles of sunlight or air expand without knowing where to end, so does our tendency to love wholeheartedly. According to the timeless wisdom books of ancient India called the Vedas, our love can only be fully satisfied when it is fixed in Sri Krishna, the Absolute Truth. He is the reservoir of all pleasure, all worlds, and all relationships. Pinnacle of devotion, its source of knowledge came from the ancient mystical Vedas, teaches us how to love all living beings, humans, birds, beasts, insects, and even trees and plants, by the easy method of loving Krishna. Pouring water on the root of a tree is the universal and practical method of supplying water to all the leaves and branches. In that connection, the Vedas say that Krishna, the Supreme Person, is the root of all. All beings are his parts, and therefore, by loving him, everyone becomes happy. In this book, you will find that this elevated concept is written in very simple, easy to understand language, because the words herein were spoken that way by Srila Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja and then transcribed. If you feel some hesitancy to continue reading because of several Sanskrit verses, phrases, and words scattered here and there, please don't miss the opportunity, even if it is the first time you are coming in contact with Sanskrit language. Even if you don't understand the language, the transcendently powerful verses, which are like mantras for meditation, free us from false material love. Material love is always frustrating. Reading, hearing, and uttering these verses gives us an opportunity to enter the all-blissful, loving reality. You will also be happy to know that all the Sanskrit verses, phrases, and words are always translated. Sanskrit is the main language of the ancient Vedas, and it is the world's original language. In fact, it is a language that is spoken in the celestial planets as well as in the transcendental worlds. The Sanskrit word Veda means the aggregate of knowledge. When knowledge comes to its most advanced stage, it becomes a brilliant spiritual love and affection. The quintessence of the Vedas is an ancient spiritual literature called Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the essence of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is vividly explained in this book, The Pinnacle of Devotion. Our respected readers will be introduced to that supremely beautiful love, which is the ultimate goal of life and the foundation of endless, ever fresh, and ever unfolding fulfillment. I think this was via comma before which. The publishers. Introduction. In February 1997, Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja gave his divine teachings to devotees in Australia, where he spent 3 weeks as part of his Bhakti festival touring the West. There he lectured on the principal causes for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world. He also revealed the special gift which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give the fortunate souls of this iron age of Kali Yuga, a gift which is the very pinnacle of attainment for the spirit soul. In order to give his audience a platform for understanding the sublime topic, Srila Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja first gave 4 lectures based on Chapter 1 of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. In these lectures, he explains the essential principle of the spiritual preceptor, Guru Tattva, who is a manifestation of Sri Krishna, the personification of absolute reality. He also emphasized the importance of association with pure saints, sadhu sangha. In the remaining 9 lectures, he spoke on the primary purpose for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance and explained with great care and in detail how one becomes qualified for his mercy. Srila Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja wanted his Western audience to understand that the mission of his Shiksha Guru and intimate friend Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Swami Mahārāja, known throughout the world as Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, was to fulfill the same principle purpose for which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. In his discourses, he therefore quoted extensively from Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Mahārāja's Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapters 3 and 4. In order to elaborate on certain points in his discourses, we have added quotes from Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Mahārāja's books and recorded lectures as footnotes, all taken from Srila Swami Mahārāja's Veda-based folio. Krishna Bhakti was practically unknown outside of India before Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Mahārāja started his worldwide movement. We fall at his lotus feet and offer our eternal gratitude to him for giving Krishna consciousness so extensively and for creating a worldwide interest in bhakti literature such as this edition of Pinnacle of Devotion. We, the editors, are happy to present this revised edition of Srila Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja's Discourses in Australia, and we humbly request our respected readers to please excuse any errors made by us in presenting his divine words. This publication is presented by the laudable efforts of several devotees. In alphabetical order, they are Shripad Madhav Maharaj. That's not alphabetical order. I guess that's why there's a semicolon. Ananta Acharya Das, Anita Dasi, Brajanath Das, Haladar Das, Janaki Dasi, Kaliya Damana Das, Kamalakanta Das, Krishna Kamini Dasi, Madan Mohan Das, Madhurika Dasi, Madhusmita Dasi, Pitambar Dasi. Pitambar Dasi? Must be Pitambar Das. I don't know. Prahlada Nanda Dasi, Prem Prayojan Das, Premavati Dasi, Rishabhadev Das, that's my dad. Vajanti Mala Dasi, Vasanti Dasi, Vikash Thakur, Yashoda Gopi Dasi. One second. Chandra, can I have a grain of rice? Yeah. I got it. Yeah. Sorry, guys. That is thank you. Part 1, Guru Tattva. The glory of Sri Guru. The glory of Sri Guru. Come with me to Vrindavan, where Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, wrote his book in the solitary atmosphere of the Radha Damodar temple in Sevakunj. Sevakunj is one of the places in which the Lord performed his amorous pastimes. The foot dust of all the gopis is there. Srimati Radhika's foot dust is there. And Sri Krishna engaged in the service of Srimati Radhika there. Krishna also served Srimati Radhika at Vangshivat and Nidhuvan. At these places, Krishna, Radhika, and all the gopis are controlled by prem, love personified. Their devotees do not aspire for Krishna, but for Krishna prem, love for him. Kamsa, Jarasandha, Shishupal, and other demons wanted Krishna, but they did not possess that prem. Krishna Guru Bhakta Shakti Avatar Prakash, Krishna E Chaya Rupe, Korena Vilas. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 132. Lord Krishna enjoys by manifesting himself as the spiritual masters, the devotees, the diverse energies, the incarnations, and the plenary portions. They are all six in one. In this Chaitanya Charitamrita verse, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj explains that Krishna manifests in this world six features: as Krishna himself, as two kinds of guru, as the bhakta, his devotee, as Shakti, his energy, as an avatar, his incarnation, and as Prakash, his manifestation. I will explain this very briefly so that I may complete the discussion of the third and fourth chapters of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. The third and fourth chapters describe the purpose for which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the acharyas in our disciplic line of spiritual masters, the parampara, have come to this world. However, in order to understand this most important subject matter, it is necessary to understand some background information about Krishna's manifestations. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj begins his description of the Lord's manifestations by explaining the principle of Guru. Mantra Guru ara jata shiksha Guru gan, tahara charana age koriye vandan. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 135. I first offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my initiating spiritual master and all my instructing spiritual masters. Mantra Guru means Diksha Guru. The Shiksha Guru teaches us who we are. He teaches the meaning of bhakti, devotional service to the Supreme Lord, the meaning of Jiva Tattva, the established truths of the eternal soul, the means by which a conditioned soul can achieve bhav bhakti, spiritual actions, and then prem bhakti, pure love of God, the direct service of the eternal soul. Real bhakti is prem bhakti, pure loving service to Sri Krishna. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, first verse, no, it's verse 11, not first verse. It's a mistake. Srila Rupa Gosvāmī states, Anyavilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavartam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti ruttama. Uttama bhakti, pure devotional service, is the cultivation of activities that are meant exclusively for the pleasure of Sri Krishna. In other words, it is the uninterrupted flow of service to Sri Krishna, performed through all endeavors of the body, mind, and speech, and through the expression of various spiritual sentiments, bhavs. It is not covered by jnana, knowledge aimed at impersonal liberation, and karma, reward-seeking activity. And it is devoid of all desires other than the aspiration to bring happiness to Sri Krishna. It is the duty of a person desiring bhakti to remember this verse and to repeat it daily. He should try to enter deeply into its meaning and practice to develop its understanding. This practice is called Sadhan Bhakti. There's a footnote here. Sadhan Bhakti is of two kinds, Vaidhi and Raganuga. That bhakti which is accomplished through the functions of the senses and by which bhav bhakti is obtained is called Sadhan Bhakti. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, verse 8. We don't need to, anyways. It's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, not, oh maybe. Yeah, it's giving Gurudev's quote of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Whatever. Sorry guys. What am I doing? Oh yeah. Sorry guys. Where am I? Okay. By practicing sadhan bhakti with the senses, a spiritual mood manifests. This mood is called bhav bhakti, and it is this bhav bhakti which soon blossoms into prem bhakti. According to a devotee's level of advancement in bhakti, he or she will be eligible to perform sadhan bhakti, bhav bhakti, or prem bhakti. A person can be called a sadhak, one who is performing sadhan bhakti, only when his practice is aimed at attaining bhav bhakti, and ultimately prem bhakti. A guru who is not realized in sadhan bhakti, bhav bhakti, and prem bhakti cannot actually give bhakti, although he may appear to do the work of a guru. This is supported by all shastras, including Śrīmad Bhagavatam and the Upanishads, and it is also supported by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Krishna himself. We should understand this principle. Tasmar gurung prapaddeta jigyasu shreya uttamam shabde pare chanishnatam brahmanyupashrama shrayam. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 11:21. Any person who is seriously desirous of achieving real happiness must seek out a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of a spiritual master is that he must have realized the conclusion of the scriptures by deliberation and arguments, and thus be able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken complete shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, are to be understood as bona fide spiritual masters. In order to achieve real bhakti to Sri Krishna, to have real happiness, to learn how we can progress in this life, and to realize who we are, it is necessary that we go to a self-realized soul and submissively hear from him. He will surely help us. There are 3 symptoms of a bona fide guru, the first of which is Shabde. Shabde means that he is perfect in his knowledge of Veda, Upanishads, Śrīmad Bhagavatam, etc. However, knowledge of Shastra and the ability to give logical arguments based on that knowledge is not enough to qualify one as a guru. If he has no realization of Krishna, if he is not absorbed in bhajan, if his bhakti is not very developed, then he is not a guru. The second symptom is that he is detached from worldly desires, upashamashraya. These first and second symptoms are external. The internal symptom of the bona fide guru is pare chanishnatam brahmani. The word pare refers to Para Brahman Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A guru should have internal realization of Para Brahman, otherwise he may fall down. Knowledge of Shastric arguments devoid of absorption in bhajan is not sufficient to save one from falling from the path of bhakti. A person may know all the arguments that support the Shastric viewpoint, and he may outwardly engage in some kind of devotional practice. Yet, if he is not detached from material desires and objects, he will fall down. If the guru falls, this becomes a great problem for the disciple and disturbs that disciple's entire life. Therefore, we should exercise caution by approaching for initiation as pure devotee, one who will not fall. In the above-mentioned verse, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj has written a mantra, Arjata Shiksha Guru Gan, which indicates both the initiating and instructing spiritual masters. What has Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Mahārāja written in his translation and purport? Please hear this very carefully. It is very important. Devotee reads, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 135. Text. I first offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my initiating spiritual master and unto all my instructing spiritual masters. Purport. Srila Jiva Gosvāmī in his thesis Sri Bhakti Sandarbha 202 has stated that uncontaminated devotional service is the objective of pure Vaishnavas, and that one has to execute such service in the association of other devotees. By associating with devotees of Lord Krishna, one develops a sense of Krishna consciousness, and thus becomes inclined towards loving service to the Lord. This is the process of approaching the Supreme Lord by gradual appreciation of devotional service. If one desires unalloyed devotional service, one must associate with devotees. Let us pay great attention to these words. If we want unalloyed devotional service, we must associate with Vaishnavas. Otherwise, we will be forced to have the association of materialists, asat sangha. This will be the result. Let us follow Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Mahārāja's line of thought. If we desire unalloyed devotional service to Krishna, then let us boldly follow these directions and instructions. If our preference is making money, and we see that this will be hampered by associating with high-class Vaishnavas, we will not be inclined to follow these instructions. However, if we aspire to be like Prahlāda Mahārāja, then let us try to understand the statements in Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Mahārāja's purports. Please read the last line again and then continue. Devotee reads, if one desires unalloyed devotional service, one must associate with devotees of Sri Krishna. By such association only can a conditioned soul achieve a taste for transcendental love, and thus revive his eternal relationship with God in a specific manifestation and in terms of a specific transcendental mellow or ras that one has internally inherent in him. Whoa. If we follow this instruction to associate with pure devotees, Sri Krishna will manage everything for us. We need not fear. Krishna has created us. He is the supreme controller. So why should we have any fear? All problems will be solved by following this instruction. Krishna will manage everything. If we want unalloyed service to Krishna, then we must have courage. Let us be bold and make an effort to associate with qualified Vaishnavas. In the following verse, the importance of such association is stressed, not only once, but 3 times. Sadhu Sangha, again Sadhu Sangha, and again Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shashtari Koi, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all spiritual success. What is the meaning of this verse? Unalloyed service to Krishna can be attained through sadhu sangha, and following this directive is our first duty. Devotee reads Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 135, purport. The secret is that one must submissively listen to those who know perfectly the science of God, and one must begin the mode of service regulated by the preceptor or teacher. A devotee always attracted by the name, form, qualities, etc. of the Supreme Lord may be directed to his specific manner of devotional service. He need not waste time by approaching the Lord through logic. Krishna consciousness cannot be achieved through the method of mundane logic. If it is the type of logic presented in Shastras like Śrīmad Bhagavatam or Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and predominated by devotion, then it may be accepted, otherwise not. Devotee continues reading. The expert spiritual master knows well how to engage his disciples' energy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and thus he engages a devotee in a specific devotional service according to his spiritual tendency. So far, 2 quotes showing how it's inherently within us. Shukadadi, I think it's 536 Gaurabda, isn't it? Dandavat pranams Rukmini Didi. Haribol. We have heard from the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada that everyone, from small children to superiors, used to think, my Guru Maharaj loves me so much. The disciples experience the symptom of a bona fide Guru because he does not desire material profit from them. He only wants to reside in their hearts and injects them with Krishna Prem. Unless the Guru is perfect in his own realization of Krishna Prem, he cannot give such realization. The bona fide Guru never takes the heart of the disciple as his own property. Rather, he makes the disciple's heart soft, sweet, and fragrant, suitable to be offered to the divine couple. The disciple first offers his heart unto the lotus feet of his beloved Guru, who in turn gives it to his Guru, and so on, until it is placed at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari, the leader of all the maidservants of Srimati Radhika. Rupa Manjari will then give that devotee's heart to Lalita and Vishaka, who will offer it at the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika. Srimati Radhika will then engage that person in service to Krishna and herself. If a Guru does not have this symptom, then his disciple may humbly request the Guru to allow him to take the association of an elevated soul who does have it. That Guru, without envy and admitting that he cannot satisfy his disciple, will direct him to take shelter of Vaishnavas who are of the caliber of Srila Jiva Gosvāmī, Srila Rupa Gosvāmī, and Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He will not complain that the disciple is taking shelter of a superior Vaishnava. A self-realized guru, sadguru, never desires worldly gain. If he does, he is not actually guru. Shyamananda Prabhu was instructed by his Diksha Guru, Hriday Chaitanya of Kuliagram, to journey to Sevakunj, Vrindavan, and take shelter of the lotus feet of Srila Jiva Goswami. Hriday Chaitanya told his disciple, "He will make you qualified to serve Shishi, Radha, and Krishna." Apparently, Srila Jiva Goswami had no initiated disciples, but he gave his instructions to all the inhabitants of this world. Devotee continues reading. A devotee must have only one initiating spiritual master, because in the scriptures, acceptance of more than one is always forbidden. There is no limit, however, to the number of instructing spiritual masters one may accept. Generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on. One should always remember that a person who is reluctant to accept a spiritual master and be initiated is sure to be baffled in his endeavor to go back to Godhead. Wait, is this Srila Prabhupada? Yes, it is. This is all Srila Prabhupada still. Sorry. One who is not properly initiated may present himself as a great devotee, but in fact, he is sure to encounter many stumbling blocks on his path of progress towards spiritual realization, with the result that he must continue his term of material existence without relief. Such a helpless person is compared to a ship without a rudder, for such a ship can never reach its destination. It is imperative, therefore, that one accepts a spiritual master if he at all desires to gain the favor of the Lord. If there is no chance to serve him directly, a devotee should serve his spiritual master by remembering his instructions. There is no difference between his instructions and he himself. In his absence, therefore, his words of direction should be the pride of the disciple. Wow, I love that. In his absence, therefore, his words of direction should be the pride of the disciple. If one thinks that he is above consulting anyone, including his spiritual master, he is at once an offender of the Lord. Such an offender can never go back to Godhead. It is imperative that a serious person accepts a bona fide spiritual master in terms of the Shastric injunction. Srila Jiva Goswami advises that one should not accept a spiritual master in terms of hereditary or customary social or ecclesiastical convention. One should simply try to find a genuinely qualified spiritual master for actual advancement in spiritual understanding. Now, my Gurudev again. It is clear that Srila Bhaktivedānta Swami Mahārāja is a pure follower of Srila Jiva Goswami, but to have a fully qualified guru is very rare. Very rare. In this life, due to some spiritual piety, sukriti, we have accepted even a Kanishta Adhikari guru. Some impressions of Vaishnavism are made in the heart. Interesting. So it's a good thing, even if we have a Kanishta Adhikari guru. At least we'll have some impressions of Vaishnavism, right? Then, in our next birth, we may have the qualification to choose a bona fide guru. How do we choose? We surrender ourselves at the lotus feet of the Chaitya Guru, Krishna in the heart, and pray to him. Residing in our heart, he will hear our plea. He will always hear. If one prays, "O Krishna, I sincerely desire to become your servant. Please direct me to the lotus feet of a qualified guru," he will surely arrange this. One who neglects such prayer has confidence in his own ability to select and examine his guru will be disturbed in his spiritual life. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 1866, "Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tang sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha." Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Krishna will arrange a guru for one who surrenders sincerely and without desire for material gain. In this way, such a person easily receives the mercy of that rare guru. Everything depends on Krishna. Although a bona fide guru is rare in this world, Shastra describes that rarer than such a guru is a bona fide disciple who surrenders fully. as Arjuna or Sudama Vipra surrendered to Sri Krishna. The Vedas, Upanishads, and Puranas cite many examples of the ideal guru and the ideal disciple, and the example of Srila Jiva Goswami and his full surrender to the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswamis, Srila Rupa and Srila Sanatana Goswamis, is one of the most exalted. Who is the guru of Srila Sanatana Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami? Srila Rupa Goswami prayed to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Mangalacharan, auspicious invocation of each of his books. But when did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initiate Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana? Have we heard of a fire sacrifice being performed for their initiation and mantras being given to them? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instilled everything in their heart. They accepted him as Guru within their heart. It is most important to follow Gurudev internally and externally. If our heart is given very naturally at a Vaishnav's lotus feet, this means he is our Guru, regardless of whether or not mantras are given or fire yagya is performed. These are external and not as important as the surrendering of one's heart. There are two kinds of disciples, and therefore there are two kinds of Diksha initiation, Anushtaniki and Vivat Ruddhi. Anushtaniki Diksha is the external formality of a fire yagya and the giving of Diksha, Gayatri mantras. If one thinks, I have sacrificed so much, my head is shaven and I have received my mantras, I am now initiated. This may be only external. Of course, formal initiation is essential, but it is not complete without Vivad Ruddhi. Vivad Ruddhi refers to an internal... Chandra? Vivad Ruddhi refers to an internal initiation wherein the disciple completely gives his heart at his Guru's lotus feet. He knows that his Guru will make him qualified to serve Shri Radha and Krishna. Gurudev gives all kinds of transcendental knowledge, Divya Gyan, about Krishna Tattva, Guru Tattva, Vaishnav Tattva, and Prem Tattva. The Guru teaches us what Maya is. He teaches that under the spell of the illusory energy, Maya, one sees a man or woman as of his own sense gratification. One sees a man or woman as a source of one's own sense gratification. Such consciousness has created many problems between husband and wife, especially in Western countries. People are sometimes married and divorced several times, and there is no concern for the children. Marriage means that both remain together for life. Small problems should not cause divorce. The Guru will teach his followers to be neither attached nor detached, but to perform their duty, and in this way see themselves, their wives, and their children as Krishna's servants. He will teach them their only duty in such a way that they will develop in their Krishna consciousness. The Guru instructs us how to practice bhakti, how to develop our honor, affection, and service for Krishna through Divya Gyan, transcendental knowledge. He also destroys all our sinful reactions. Divyam Gyanam Yato Dadyat Kuryat Papasya Shankshayam Tasmat Diksheti Sapukta Deshi Kais Tattva Govida. Bhakti Sandarbha 283. By Diksha, one gradually becomes disinterested in material enjoyment and gradually becomes interested in spiritual life. In this verse, material enjoyment refers to all the problems arising from attachments to worldly affairs. In material life, one is full of lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy. He thinks himself to be the enjoyer. Gurudev destroys the 4 stages of sin. 1. Prarabdha, fructified karma, the reactions to the previous actions which are presently being suffered and enjoyed. 2. Aprarabdha, those reactions which will fructify in our next body. 3. Kut and Bij, the sins which have not yet been performed, but the tendency to perform them is dormant in the heart. And 4. Avidya, the ignorance whereby one forgets Krishna and thinks himself to be the enjoyer. From this, all problems arise. I thought Kut was number 3. and feature is number 4. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. If our Diksha Guru is not of a high caliber and is thus incapable of extricating us from these reactions, then we must accept a Shiksha Guru who is more advanced. We will pray to Krishna and Gurudev to help us solve our difficulties in this connection. Our Guru will then advise us to seek shelter of advanced Vaishnavas who are of the caliber of Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, and Srila Narottam Das Thakur. If the Guru is showing jealousy or envy that his disciples are associating with such a Shiksha Guru, or if he is opposed to Vaishnavas and their teachings, the disciple should consider giving up that false Guru. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath, H.I. Guru Shiksha Guru, isn't it Jay Amar? Is it Jay Amar? Tansabara Paraparme Koti Namaskar. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela 136 to 37. The instructing spiritual masters are Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatan Goswami, Srila Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Goswami, Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. These 6 are my instructing spiritual masters, and I therefore offer millions of respectful obeisances at their lotus feet, unto their lotus feet. In this section of Srila Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami first prays to his Shiksha Gurus and then explains many truths about Guru. Who are his Shiksha Gurus? Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatan Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. In this connection, there's a very important point to consider. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj has not mentioned the name of his Diksha Guru. He took Shiksha directly from Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and at the end of each chapter, he offers his obeisances to them. Some say that his Diksha Guru is Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, but I have not seen evidence of this. I have never read in any Shastras about the identity of his Diksha Guru. Both he and his brother took Diksha during their household's life, before he finally left his family and to Vrindavan. Without Diksha, he would not have received the name Krishnadas. For some reason, he has not revealed the name of his Diksha Guru, but has only named the 6 Goswami associates of Mahaprabhu as his Shiksha Gurus. In their forms in Vraj, Srila Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, Srila Sanatan Goswami is Lavanga Manjari, Srila Raghunath Bhatta is Raga Manjari, Srila Jiva Goswami is Vilas Manjari, Srila Gopal Bhatta is Guna Manjari, and Srila Raghunath Das is Rati Manjari. They each have 2 eternal forms, one as an associate of Krishna and the other as an associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If one has proper association with a bona fide Shiksha Guru, he will surely become a bona fide disciple. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj is proud to be a disciple of the 6 Goswamis. I really hope I can remember all these changes I'm seeing. I mean, like all these proofreading things. Found tons all throughout. Anyways, he will surely become a bona fide. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj is proud to be a disciple of the 6 Goswamis. He writes, Tansabara Paraparme Koti Namaskar. He offers innumerable obeisances at their lotus feet, after which he prays to bhaktas, devotees like Srivas Pandit, who in Krishna's pastimes is the form of Narad Muni. Bhagavanir Bhakta Jata Srivasadi Pradhan, Tansabara Paraparme Sahasra Pranam. That's the next verse, verse 38 in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There are innumerable devotees of the Lord, of whom Srivas Thakur is the foremost. I offer my respectful obeisances thousands of times unto their lotus feet. There are 2 kinds of bhaktas, namely the realized soul and the sadhak. In life, Narad was a sadhak bhakta, and then he became a realized bhakta, a premi bhakta. In this verse, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj is referring to all self-realized bhaktas. Shri Sarup Damodar, Shri Rai Ramananda, Shiki Mahiri, Madhavi Devi, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, etc. There are 6 prominent Shiksha Gurus, the 6 Goswamis, and they are all realized bhaktas as well. We have mentioned Krishna's manifestations as the Guru and the Bhakta, and he also expands in three other ways. Sri Advaita Acharya is the plenary incarnation of Mahavishnu, and Sri Nityananda Prabhu is Sarup Prakash, an eternal personal manifestation of Krishna. Sri Gadadhar Pandit, who is Srimati Radhika, and Sri Jagadananda Pandit, who is Radhika's maidservant, are Shakti, Krishna's transcendental potency. Why was it that Sri Gadadhar Pandit was in such a humble service mood to Sri Chaitanya? After all, he was Srimati Radhika, chief of all the left-wing gopis, who freely expressed their transcendental sulky mood, man, towards Sri Krishna. The answer is that in the form of Sri Chaitanya, Krishna covered himself with Srimati Radhika's mood and complexion, and Sri Gadadhar Pandit was simply watching, taking the role of a teacher to see if Mahaprabhu was playing the part of Srimati Radhika correctly. If Krishna, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, made a mistake, then Sri Gadadhar Pandit would immediately correct him. For example, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first met Nityananda Prabhu in Nandanacharya's house, Mahaprabhu recited this verse from the 10th canto of Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Parhapidam natavarabapu karnayo karnikaram bibradvasa kanaka kapisam vajayantim chamalam randran venur adarasudaya purayan gopa vrindaranyam swapadaramanam pravishar gita kirti. It's verse 5. Chapter 21, verse 5. The gopis began to see Sri Krishna within their minds. Accompanied by his cowherd friends, Krishna entered the charming forest of Vrindavan. His head was decorated with a peacock feather. He wore yellow karnika flowers over his ears, a golden yellow garment over his body, and a beautiful fragrant Vaijayanti, a garland about his neck. Sri Krishna exhibited his supremely captivating appearance, just like the best of dancers performing upon a stage. He filled up the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips. The cowherd boys followed behind him, singing his glories which purify the entire world. In this way, the forest of Vrindavan manifested even greater splendor than Vaikuntha, due to being beautified by the marks of Sri Krishna's lotus feet. Weeping, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described the beautiful form of Krishna, yet he could not completely express it in the way Srimati Radhika did when she had uttered the same words. There was something lacking. Then, from behind the curtain, Sri Gadadhar Pandit uttered the same verse, playing Srimati Radhika's part marvelously. He wept loudly with tears running down his cheeks, and he melted everyone's heart. He did this in such a way that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was also playing the role of Srimati Radhika, understood that he had not played the part correctly. After explaining Krishna's other manifestations, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj describes Sri Chaitanya as Sri Krishna himself, Swayam Bhagavan, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so these are verses, my Guru is reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 1 right now. So I'm just going to say the verse numbers, not everything else. This is verse 42 to 43. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Swayam Bhagavan Tahara Padaravinde Ananta Pranam Sa Varane Prabhure Koriya Namaskare Chai Teho Jaiche Koriye Vich. Oh, whoops, sorry. There should be a paragraph right there. So Sa Varane Prabhure Koriya Namaskar E Chai Teho Jaiche Koriye Vichar at Shri Chaitanya Chaitanya. Oh, yeah. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the personality of God himself. Therefore, I offer unlimited prostrations at his lotus feet. Having offered obeisances unto the Lord and all his associates, I shall now try to explain these 6 diversities in one. Thus, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj has described the 6 manifestations of Krishna. It's 8:30 now. Let's see, how much more is there in this? Okay, it's quite, yeah, there's quite a lot more to read. So I'm going to stop here for today, and we will continue reading this tomorrow, this chapter. Also, my computer's almost out of battery. I only have 18%. I didn't bring my charger. So, all right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. जय श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग गंधाविक गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जो की जय, श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरण मोहन जो की जय, नितल प्रविष्ट विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिष्मार भक्तिवेदांता नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय, नितल प्रविष्ट विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिष्मार भक्तिवेदांता वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय, नितल प्रविष्ट विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिष्मार भक्तिवेदांता स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, नितल प्रविष्ट विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय, नितिल प्रविष्ट विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिष्मार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, नितिल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोविंद प्रभु जी महाराज की जय, नितिल प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय, नितिल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबू जी महाराज की जय, श्री रूप गौरी गुरु वर्ग की जय, श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ, श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जय, श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय, नामचय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय, सर्व अभिष्ट बरत गिरिराज महाराज की जय, श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय, श्री मुनि देवी गंगा देवी की जय, श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय, श्री भक्ति देवी की जय, श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाय की जय, श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री जगन्नाथ मिश्र आनंदोत्सव की जय, श्री सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि की जय, श्री जगन्नाथ मिश्र की जय, श्री सच्ची माया की जय, श्री विश्वरूप की जय, श्री लक्ष्मी प्रिय की जय, श्री विष्णु प्रिय की जय, श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय, श्री गदाधर पंडित की जय, श्री पंचतत्वात्मक श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य की जय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवाय च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रददेवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Dandavat pranams everybody. See you all tomorrow. Dandavat pranams Rukmini Didi. And yeah, thanks also. It's always very helpful. Sometimes I don't comment on it, but it's always very helpful whenever you point out any mistakes or any corrections and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm always very grateful when you do that. And when anybody else does that also, it's really helpful. All right, Haribo. See you all tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe.